Hello, everybody, and welcome to Coffee Class with Young Screenwriters. Today we're doing something fun that we haven't done in a while. We are writing a story on the spot. So what that means is we're going to basically outline an entire movie beginning to end based on a prompt with all of you here. And we've planned nothing in advance except for the prompt so that we can go through this process with you and hopefully come up with something super fun. And so far, these have always gone pretty well, and I just jinxed it. So let's see how we do this time.
This is also the 200th video on the YouTube channel.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
That's impressive.
It's kind of crazy.
Noise.
Scary.
Noise.
Yeah, I know.
That is a little terrifying. It's not the 100th coffee class video. It's
No.
the 106th coffee class.
Yeah.
There is that.
What was the 100th?
It was one that we didn't even notice was going to be the 100th, if I'm being real with you. So, but yes, we do have a horror story on our hands. And let me reveal what the prompt is going to be. Well, I mean, it's kind of in the title, but
I must know.
Ready? About a magic
harp.
fish.
We're going in.
There we go.
Wait, that's interesting. So okay, wait. Magic harp transforms. That's interesting.
It's true. Maybe we do go with it. I also have this this is a kind of a nice magic fish too, but we have magic harp here. So, get our brains going. So this is going to be, we have given ourselves the parameters of horror, magic fish. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give you all this link. 1 second. And we can start outlining this movie. Adam, do you want to talk a little bit about the process while I get these links for everybody?
Yeah, usually we sort of, start at a very conceptual level, being like, okay, if this is a horror movie, what sort of is the basic setting, concept, and then who's this about? And then we just sort of have a conversation for about an hour, sometimes an hour and a half. And by the end of it, we have the main strokes of story for a movie. So we're kind of going to try that again. And horror magic fish is interesting. Like, you can go a lot of ways with that.
Yeah, like the first question I have is, when we say magic fish, what kind of magic are we thinking? Like, is it like a magic carp where it just turns into another giant fish, or does it grant wishes, or like, does it fly? Does it teleport? Does it speak? I'm so curious what kind of magic fish will decide this is. And I feel like whatever that is, there are so many horror implications that could be derived from that. Like, I almost feel like that has to be figured out before you even figure out who the protagonist is, because you got to figure out what the problem is in a horror movie.
Oh my God, this is horrifying, Eleanor. I saw the pictures. Winnie the Pooh just went into public domain, and so they're allowed to do whatever they want with it. Holy crap.
Oh, is that why we haven't seen any new Winnie the Pooh movies?
Maybe.
It was that Christopher Robin movie that came out a few years ago with Ian McGregor, but that was like the last thing I've seen.
Well, I think that Disney still can make, they can still make Pooh movies that are aren't public domain. It's just that if that movie isn't public domain, the character is, and anybody else can do the same too. Yeah, I think Bambi is in the public domain too. Where's our Vengeful Deer movie?
Next time we do this, we should do a story based on a public domain. Yeah, the zombie. Yeah.
Well, let's go back to the type of magic.
So real quick, I wanted to say that typically what we do before we actually start mapping out the movie, because this is how we're going to fill out the movie. This is what we call a tentpole document. Usually what we do is we just spend a little bit of time brainstorming, idea generating with all of you. So you all should please feel free to jump in, just share random ideas, random thoughts for how we can do this. But yeah, so right now we're just doing some idea generation, start building up our idea, and then hopefully we should stop that within like 15 to 20 minutes and start doing the actual movie.
So I like the idea of transformation, but I also like, I don't know, maybe not going in that direction. Like, I guess kind of, we've already done a body horror with the bee story.
That was horrible.
Do we
doing that again.
want to consciously not go for body horror because we've done
Yeah,
that
we
before?
don't want to do that ever again.
Okay.
That is my law.
Okay.
Here we go. Here, Dan says, on a ship, a fish gets on board and tears everyone apart. It's like aliens, but in the ocean.
Nemo's mad.
So it could be like a super powered, like super
fish,
evil.
like a shark kind of a thing.
Okay.
I just kind of want to say real quick that because it's a horror movie, there's a structural thing that should probably be addressed, which is in most stories, we're so focused on what the protagonist wants. That's kind of a net positive, usually, and what kind of obstacles they have to overcome. And horror tends to be driven more by the obstacles. It tends to be driven more by what does the protagonist not want that is happening. And, you know, usually the goal, not always, but usually the goal of the protagonist tends to be to either return to status quo or to at least reduce the losses and the extent of losses. Yeah, or they you know, want something that would be a net positive, but it just leads to a net negative. Like I wonder if maybe this is a Pet Cemetery situation where it's a magic fish that grants wishes. And grants a wish that turns out to be terrible, and in order to reverse the wish they have to find that fish again or something.
That's good. That's interesting. I like that.
I like that because it implies that it's smaller, right? Like it's not like this giant creature that's trying to eat you. It's more about the relationships.
Because you know, like I love a good shark movie, but I've seen a good shark movie, you know.
Yeah.
Like this image here.
I love that.
Like I can imagine somebody say, like, here's sort of the hacky version. Somebody lost her mother and is crying about it, and the fish recognizes what she wants and brings back the mother, but the mother is different, you know, like that's sort of like a hacky-ish sort of version of it, but that's sort of where my brain is bending right now.
Oh, for sure.
I like the mystical elements of that. I like that.
Ew, Theo, why did you have to circle back to body horror?
There's a lot of body horror going on in the chat, so maybe that's destiny, and we need to
stop. Everyone, knock it off! Jesus Christ!
The price of having a wish fulfilled by the fish is that you slowly become the next fish.
There you go. I don't agree.
There's
Those scales.
I
should have never done fish. I was
reading I have a collection of Japanese myths, and the like ancient like carps. They're like giant is always like a thing, and like there's some tie to immortality. It's kind of interesting, but it's not like they're monsters. It's just more of like they're like forces of nature.
Yeah,
it's kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But like, so if we go with the wishes, it could be like somebody like, oh, the new pet fish in the house, right? That's a really mundane way, or it could be something more mystical.
Talking about Fairly Odd Parents, because that's where I go about the new fish in the house who can grant wishes, but is evil. So it's like evil Fairly Odd Parents.
You know how like house fishes always die? Like what if this fish keeps coming back to life every time, or something? Like it's a fish that just like every time you make a wish, it like comes back or something. That's a very small thing.
I have a stupid idea.
Go.
Somebody has a pet fish, like they buy the pet store, just normal goldfish, but then it turns out that it is a fish god from a pantheon of fish gods, and it says, I will grant you wishes on the condition that you take care of me. And the person asks for wishes and starts actually getting those wishes, but then it's just terrible at taking care of the fish, so the fish just dies. And now the other fish gods are like, you have violated the contract, and there will be a punishment.
I love
this is like a dark comedy.
Well, you could like what's the A24 version of that, right? You know, like where it's like actually kind of like serious and frightening. The small
idea.
Yeah.
Taking care of the fish. Fish gives wishes so long as you take care of it. Starts giving wishes that are like kind of serious. You know, like, oh hey, this person you have a crush on is into you too, or oh hey, that dead relative is back. But then the fish dies because this kid cannot take care of a fish, and all of the wishes of the fish start to curdle. Basically, like the wishes start to go bad.
Oh.
And the only way to kind of solve that, they have to find another magic fish that can undo all that, but that's like a whole process. And in the meantime, these wishes are becoming monstrous. So now the crush, like, it starts to have a dangerous fixation, or the dead relative starts being not quite right, like things like that.
Mm-hmm. I want to real quick take a moment to pull up some suggestions on screen so we can think about them too. We had Dan's about the ship. Chris said there was some mermaid horror like that.
Hmm.
Carl says horror, magic fish. Sounds like someone turns into a fish. Eleanor says a fish that causes some kind of harm to humans when they consume it, body horror style or virus. Scales growing into skin will be interesting. And then I said, Theo, stop. And then Theo said, I'm sorry, I was making a salad.
Theo is not sorry, as you will see.
Theo is not sorry because I see it later. Jan says grants a wish and jumps back into the ocean. I definitely like the idea that the fit, because our idea is that the fish is the objective, right? So it leaving after it grants a wish, I think, is somehow leaving or somehow going away.
I do like the idea that I love the idea of the pantheon, and that could be the scary part. Maybe the fish they have is like very innocuous and sweet, but the fish dies, like Avi said, because they didn't take care of it. And maybe it's like relatives are like the horrifying part, right? And they're part of the wish going bad.
Wait, I kind of like Theo's latest suggestion is kind of interesting to me, and I think could be developed maybe. It says the A24 version would be a place where everyone has a fish, and the protagonist gets involved and discovers why everyone has these ridiculous fish. And I wonder if there's a version of this where someone's like passing through a town, finds that everybody has one fish like this in their household. Protagonist quickly realizes these fish grant wishes, and just like steals their Airbnb host's fish, and like leaves with it. And now everybody in the town, who it turns out are being controlled by these fish, are like trying to get that fish back.
They're obviously being surveilled. The fish aren't real.
100%. The fish aren't. Yeah. And also, as this person's like trying to hide from the fact that like an entire town is after them, they start noticing that their skin is becoming scaly.
I really like this. And I have here's just a gross moment.
Scaly skin?
Here's a gross suggestion. So what if every person has like a fish and like they steal one of the fish? What if if the fish are controlling the people? What if there's just a scene where at one point like one of the people is like involuntary, like goes over to the fish tank and the fish jumps in their mouth and slowly like starts to grow inside the person to like control them and stuff and turn them into a half fish? Wouldn't that be gross?
I quit.
You picked the genre. I didn't pick the genre. For once, I did not pick horror.
I picked it. That's my fault.
I thought magic fish would be like a perfectly innocent.
We're going back to body horror. We don't have to go that direction.
We don't
Children
have to do
of the Fish.
Children of the Fish.
No, we can change it to a non-horror movie for sure.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I can suck it up. Just
have either of you seen Dagon?
No.
It's a Stuart Gordon movie. Stuart Gordon did Reanimator and From Beyond, and he made a movie called Dagon, which is based on the Lovecraft story The Shadow over Innsmouth, which involves people come to this small town, which in the movie is called Imboka, which it translates out to Innsmouth, and all the people there are, it turns out, actually kind of descended from human/fish unions, and worship a giant fish, and are like skinning humans to wear their skin. It's like freaky, but that like I wonder if there's a version of this story that has a sort of a secret town kind of in that sort of vein.
I like that. I like this fish cult secret town aspect. I really do. Like, because then you could have like that symbiotic relationship between the people and
this.
What's this?
Was this was a game called Days Gone? Is that not it?
Oh no, Dagon. Dagon.
Oh, okay. Give me one moment.
Yeah.
I want to pull it up for everybody. Okay, this makes much more sense. Okay. All right, yeah, this looks much fishier. Here we go.
There you go. Yes. Yes, that's the
Okay.
one.
All right, cool. Now we all know what you're talking about.
Yep, there you go.
Ugh.
So
Yes.
in this fish village, if we keep the wish element, then there's like a symbiotic relationship between the people and their fishes. How symbiotic do we want to make that? Like, do these people have agency, or are they like controlled by the fish?
Fish village? Wait, are we going with fish village?
No, I'm just going down that rabbit hole. I'm just wondering. Because I kind of like
I wonder if that is the direction, if it's sort of a metaphor for addiction, where these people are addicted to their fish.
I love
but
that.
You know,
That's
it
my
like
shit. That's my
but
shit.
like it really kind of takes something out of them every time they make a wish, but they keep making the wishes because, you know, why go to work and make money and buy food and stuff? You can just kind of wish to have what you need, but they're all
and that's
kind of
where
like
we start to
wasting
actually
away.
start saying something, right? You know, like that's an opportunity.
Yeah, and if somebody steals one fish and that person is now cut off from, you know, from their addiction, the other fish are like, we can't let this person no longer be addicted to us. So they all, you know, kind of compel their people to get that fish back.
So are the fish like feeding off of like the life energy of these people? Like, what do the fish get out of this?
Sure.
What a question in a bubble.
Sure. What do the fish get out of this?
Yeah, no, truly.
They
So
get,
could we
they
have
get fed,
like
they
somebody
get fed physically and psychically.
So what if there's like people in the community who are like basically like their minds are completely sapped, but like sort of like he's like, oh, is that your grandpa? Oh no, that's my brother. You know.
Oh God. So I just watched. Me and Carl watched the Love and Robot. What is it? The series of little shorts.
Oh, Love, Death, and Robots.
Yeah. Love, Death, and Robots.
I haven't seen this one.
There's that one. There's a one creepy one where this like giant shellfish crab holds up dead people and talks through them. And so like that's the only way that he can talk. And maybe there's something weird with the fish, like what Adam said. Like once I feel like I'm just going in a path that I don't want to go, but here I go. Maybe the whole thing is like this is like getting them ready to basically swallow the goldfish, and then the goldfish can like take over and like speak through them. And it's like a
ceremony that's temporary, like they could spit them out or something.
Yeah, it could be temporary or it could be permanent. And it's the goldfish taking over.
Maybe
the world.
I have a gross body horror direction. Do you want to hear my gross body horror direction?
Yes.
Do I?
So do you? So the fish have kind of relatively recently come into this town's lives, this town by the water. People have been getting wishes off of them for like a year or two now. And it is now reaching a point in the fish life cycle where the hosts are nearly spent, where come the full moon or whatever the hell, these people go to the water, swallow the fish, and then jump in the water. And eventually all of those people die and drown and stuff. And the fish gestate inside of them. And that's how more fish of these kind come into existence and kind of burst out.
Oh, I have an idea based on that. Okay, what if the oldest fish, like the wisest ones, are the smaller ones, and the babies are like big? So we could have like a birth of like a new
so they kind of
fish
shrink
in the lake. Yeah, exactly. They say shrink as they get older. So like the ones that give the best wishes are the old ones.
They shrink because everything in like in water, when you put your hand in water, like they get all shrivelly over time. So the fish get kind of shrivelly over time.
Yeah.
So these fish would grant wishes. Is that how they lure people in?
Yeah, it's like you know how like some anglerfish lure in their prey with a light on the end of a tendril. So the light on the end of the tendril for these fish is wishes. It offers wishes, and that's how people willingly walk into their trap.
That's gross. It works.
This is my shit.
Theo, I should really tap you in for this one.
Yeah, Theo, I'm creatively spent now, so you're gonna just jump in and write the story.
I'm grossed out. So, here we go. Yep, Eleanor says the fish are a dying species, and this is the only way for them to survive. Jay says fishing village. Everyone has a magical fish of a particular kind, but must never fish for the fish. If they do, something terrible happens.
I think it'd be a joke, sort of like, oh, is there a sushi restaurant? Yeah.
Like, God,
No,
how could you?
Not here.
Never.
Like, but there's so much fresh water. There's so much water. Like
the protagonist could be like a shark expert who's like, these waters should have sharks, and yet there are no sharks here.
Yeah.
Are these fish like some like ancient, like, I like the backstory. I feel like these fish are either A, aliens, or B, which I think is kind of creepier, some like primordial, is that the right word? Some like ancient fish that have been like developing in the depths. And then because of human intervention, like global warming or something, now they need to find a new place to live. And now they're coming to F up to like, now they have to live on the surface.
I love the ancient idea.
I love the ancient idea, and it raises all sorts of questions like, did they used to survive by giving dinosaurs wishes? What does a dinosaur wish for?
The dinosaur, that's what the meteorite was. It was a wish gone wrong, right?
They all just got into these fish, and well, maybe there was like a pre-dinosaur civilization that ruled Earth in a Lovecrafty kind of style, and this fish is what ended them. And they've been waiting ever since for a similar civilization to come into existence.
Because humans became dinosaurs. Because
they all wish to become dinosaurs. That's where the dinosaurs came from. It's like, what if we were like these weird bird lizards?
That's so
funny. Ancient fish that have been developing in the depths, the true ancestors of humans. There was a split. Some of us walked on land, and some of us turned around and went right back. Became little creeps.
So here's a possible avenue. What if we make a choice about them being saltwater or freshwater? And maybe one of the bad things the protagonist does is they accidentally introduce like the wrong water to like one of the ancient fishes or something.
And
I don't
awaken something deep within them.
Or causes like an incident or something.
Yeah. Here we go. So Carl says this creepy thing that I didn't want to share, but I will because I'm being fair. The anglerfish rod is interesting because male anglers will graft themselves onto the female.
I did know this. Yeah, that's.
I didn't know that. That's gross.
Okay,
that's a thing.
I made a mistake googling anglerfish. All right. Okay.
Yes.
Those are ugly. Should
I pull up a pic?
Yeah,
ultimately become an external organ that eventually rots.
We will be demonetized. Not that matters, but
my dad Facebook messaged me just now to reference stories that he used to tell me as a kid, and his entire message is just prophecy fish. Where in his stories you catch a very specific kind of a fish and you tell it to prophesize, and it just kind of tells you a prophecy about your future.
Oh, your future specifically.
Oh,
yeah. Interesting.
What if so?
Yes, beautiful.
Oh, so like, what if those are the babies?
Goldfish you have?
What if those are the babies, and as they get older, they get smaller and like more like cute goldfish?
They turn into this over time. These like magical rainbows.
Yeah, more elegant, right? Like they gain wisdom with age, right?
But
what if it's what if it's less of it? Yes. What if it's less like how they physically change and more like they become better at the whole magic thing and can make you see them in a certain way, but they always look like that.
Oh, so this is just lying to you.
Yeah, that's a lie.
But I do like the size thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It turns out they're all giant. You just have no idea.
That is kind of, I feel like that's kind of a tropey thing, you know, like the witch who makes herself look beautiful through like magic. And then at the end, it's like, oh no, she's old.
Can we turn that off? I don't need to see that. I don't need to see that.
Zoom in.
I'm gonna leave it so everyone suffers as
totally
I
like
suffer.
I had all these ideas, and then like the moment I looked at that fish, I was like, wow, I've got nothing.
What have you done? I mean, that's what you've done to us, so
maybe.
I would say that from a horror genre standpoint, you never need to actually reveal where like what their origins are, like what they used to be. You can have people speculate.
Yeah.
You know? Funny story, I just learned this past week that in an early draft of Prometheus, the prequel script to Alien, one of the characters speculates out loud that Jesus was one of these aliens. And apparently it's because Ridley Scott, the director, really wanted Jesus to have been one of the aliens. And so they wrote into the script as like a character making a joke that may or may not actually be true. But they never actually have to show it.
It's canon. Like, there you go. It's now canon.
But they never actually have to tell. Like you could always have somebody say, I wonder if these things are aliens or if they're ancient or if they're from a previous civilization or whatever. Like we never actually have to know.
Oh yeah. I like knowing like so that I understand a consistent creepy vibe. You know, because like if they're
Totally.
aliens and they have a consistent creepy vibe that's different than like ancient primordial things, we don't necessarily have to figure it all out. But I do think it helps to be like, this is the type of creepy that we're going for.
So
you know,
here's an idea. What if we go all in on prophecy and get rid of the wishes? Right? Because like it can be kind of more mystical and creepy if like they can just sort of see the future, right? And they can have insights, and that can still have the same effect of a wish. Like it basically could tell you like, hey, this is what your day tomorrow, this is what your day tomorrow is going to look like. It's like, or very vague, sinister terms like your grandmother's going to die soon, and it's going to be ugly, right? Like you could be really creepy and get like a lot of the same benefits of the wishes without having them actually have the ability to like manipulate space-time. Does that make sense?
And then the question is, do they know what's going to happen to them? Do they know?
I feel like no. I feel like,
or do they accept it eventually? Like what Carl's saying here. So is the end goal for the fish is that they decide to convince you to swallow them? Something,
I have an idea that's sort of like I have an idea that's sort of like neither prophecy nor wishes, but like there was a film version of the Hansel and Gretel story. It was called Gretel and Hansel. It came out a couple years ago, where I'm pretty sure what they do is instead of it's like a gingerbread house or whatever, it's this house that's like full of every food of every kind and it never goes bad or anything like that. But it's entirely an illusion. Like there's nothing actually there. And like, what if these fish are just surrounding these people with their own personal illusions that maybe the protagonist doesn't even see, but it is like a panacea to these people. Like they just think that they're living in this wonderful space, but it turns out they're all just like in these decrepit little houses and there's rotting meat on the table and they're all kind of falling apart, but it looks like to them they're in these beautiful houses with their families and they look great.
What is it called? A glamour type thing?
Yeah.
Like
what if that's what that is?
I like that.
I want to bring this up real quick. So we've changed from the objective being to find the fish. I want to make sure that we're keeping the objective the fish because that was our one parameter. So maybe the objective of whatever we're doing is our protagonist is trying to like get the head fish. And like, so they're seeing a bunch of ugly fish. And then when they finally get to the head fish, it's this guy. But he's like super wise.
So
something. How are we gonna keep the objective to be the fish?
Well, there's a couple of ways you could go because, like, we have to keep it a horror movie, right? Like, we don't want it to be an adventure or a quest. Like, usually,
I would be fine with a dark comedy that was like a horror, but that would be about as far as I'd be. I think we should push it.
Sure. Well, yeah. I mean, I'm just thinking in terms of in a horror, usually it'll be bad thing happening to protagonist. Protagonist must find a way out of it.
Right.
And I wonder, is the fish the goal or is the fish the bad thing that is happening? Like, are we running from or to it?
Maybe. My thought was that it's some sort of like way that they have to kill the big fish to get out or something like that. Like in order to escape, you have to confront the big bad and then you can get out.
I wonder. So I like that.
Find the wise fish.
Yeah, I like that. Is that what we did with the Bee movie?
What did we do with the Bee movie?
Isn't there like a queen bee at the end?
Yeah, there is a queen bee at the end. We're just doing the same thing, right? We have a cult, we have a small community.
Yeah, I think love cults. Yeah. I'm just thinking like because I want to make sure because like I just had an idea and then I realized, oh wait, that was also in the Bee thing of like, what if the protagonist has a family member who's being sucked into this cult and they must protect this person from being, part of the final part of the fish life cycle. But I think that was also in the Bee movie.
So, right. So with that version, we could make it, they have to find their family member's fish to free them.
Ooh.
Right.
That's kind of cool.
Right. I brought it up though to say that we did that in the Bee movie.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm just saying like, that's kind of what I'm reading. That you're saying.
I think it'll end up being different. I think if we just kind of keep pursuing the best version, it'll be different. We should just, if we stay focused on like a specific fish,
let's stay away from humans transforming into fishes then.
Okay.
Oh, I have an idea. Wait, can I rewind a little bit to the previous idea and kind of go from there? Yeah. So let's say there's a town that everybody has these fish that do glamours. We don't know it's glamours. We think it's wishes because they think it's wishes. They think it's real. Our protagonist comes into it, thinks it's wishes. Protagonist has a loved one that is in desperate need of a wish. Protagonist steals a fish to get that fish to the loved one. Entire town is after this protagonist to get the fish back. And so the goal is get the fish to the family member before the cult tears this person apart. And then, of course, it turns out it doesn't actually grant wishes at all. It's entirely a lie.
Oh, that's good.
What do you think about
that? I like that.
Because
I like a,
then
I like
the goal
a
is
good
still
lie.
the fish.
Yeah.
Cool.
I like that,
then it's still,
realization for sure.
Like maybe there's a family member who's like dying of cancer, and it's like this fish, with one wish, you will be cancer free, and is like desperate trying to get like this fish like across like the desert of the country, like across like Arizona, like to some the hospital bed, while this entire town is like on foot after them with like fish bowls.
So maybe this person the protagonist is a person who like has a relative who's very sick and has been like trying their best to come up with like some sort of cure, right? Like anything, like trying all these experimental things. And then they get word that there's this village in the middle of nowhere where they say that the fish can grant wishes. And so maybe they're like inciting incident, like getting to the village.
What if it's not they can grant wishes, but it's just, they can cure the disease, right? And
there's like some sort of rumor like that weird stuff happens here, right?
Yeah. What enough for like a regular person to go there, right? And if it's like, this can cure cancer,
or a desperate person, right? Like if it's someone who's like truly at the end of their rope, and then they hear of this thing,
right? But no matter how desperate I am, I'm not going to go to a village because magic fish is great.
I have an idea.
True.
I have an idea. What if this protagonist is specifically looking for like magic cures? Is like followed a lead to a fountain of youth that turned out to be fake. Followed a lead to like some witch doctor that turned out to be fake. Followed a lead to like an alien crash site that turned out to be fake. Or just like somebody who's like really into like cryptid kind of stuff. You know, like I'm sure that out there like medicine does nothing, science does nothing, but I believe in magic and I know that there's something in the world.
Like everything else has let them down. Also, I feel like if John was here, he would question us making it the parent and say, to raise the stakes, make it like the kid or spouse or something, to make it like, I mean, it's not that far off, but it's like, just like one of these things to make it feel super urgent. Adam's gone.
I'm here.
Adam.
I'm here.
Adam.
Just moving. Turn the light on.
Yeah, I mean,
well, that could be interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe people know, like maybe there's been no diseases ever reported out of this village or something.
Yeah, I like that, especially if it's like I don't know. I just feel like there could be fun in the protagonist sort of like saying like, oh yeah, wishes, whatever, like.
Well, maybe the protagonist has been looking at all these things, has been let down so many times that even though they're inclined to believe in magic, they're like, I'm sure this will be another whatever lead and I'm ready to give up. But it was going to go check it out because this is the kind of stuff that this person checks out. I kind of do love the idea of like this village is totally disease free. Shows up, everybody's like wonderful and living their best life. And then at some point in the story, the glamour is dropped and we see what they really look like. And it's like horrific.
That's good. They're all sick.
That.
So let's go ahead and lock that in then. I think we should lock that in because we have to start outlining our movie. So
we have
who is our protagonist?
Cryptid enthusiast.
Cryptid. What's that?
With
a cryptid,
like a Bigfoot,
like mythological.
I'm thinking crypto. I'm like, why is this guy a crypto?
Cryptid.
This person's just really into Terra Luna. So according to Google, cryptid is an animal such as Sasquatch or the Loch Ness Monster that has been claimed to exist but never proven to exist.
Okay, so they're a cryptid enthusiast. How old are they? Man or woman?
What would you like?
Well, we know my vote, but I'm trying.
Well, it depends on the emotional damage in the relationship, right?
True.
So what relationships and story do we want to tell? Like we should never just we should never arbitrarily make choices.
So if the objective is to try to cure somebody, what kind of flaw is I guess like the flaw would be tied if you were going to go the way like where the objective is fueled by the flaw and maybe it's the wrong objective. It could be something like that they are spending so much time chasing these things that they're not focusing on the time that they actually have with the person who's sick. That could be some sort of journey that they have. It could be that that they think that they know better than everybody else is another journey.
What if they're like someone who like feels like, oh, sorry, after you go.
No, you can go first.
My idea was basically, what if there's someone who like feels like they have to fix the problems of their loved one? Like, I
think the glamour needs to fit into the thematic, whatever we're doing thematically. Like this idea that things are being presented in a fake way. I think that will make a much tighter story if that's tied into the protagonist's journey somehow.
I have an idea.
Mm-hmm.
What if it's the mother of a child and she's not been in this child's life? Like, you know, there was a divorce, the husband had custody, she wasn't really particularly interested in it, she had her own thing going on, and she feels all sorts of regret for not having been there and is hoping that by doing all of this stuff, which the family isn't particularly interested in her doing, like nobody wants her to go look for Bigfoots, that she'll be able to kind of fix everything and make up for it all and just kind of put everything back to the way it should be and be the mother that she should have been this whole time, and it'll all be better. And then at some point, coinciding with the glamour being a lie, she understands that that's also a lie. She can't undo that.
Well, if we are still going with the idea that this is some sort of a metaphor for addiction, then it could be that the mother lost custody when she was an addict, and then now she's kind of trying to fix this by going about it in like this kind of magic solution way.
Do we want to make her like a subscriber to Goop, like one of those people, like, you know, like the J and all of this, like pseudoscience? No, like want to make her one of like those pseudoscience moms.
Well, she got clean from the real drugs, from like the hard drugs, but has only ever sort of followed it up with like quick and easy solutions that don't really work.
Yeah, I feel like she's addicted to the quick and easy on the Goop, or not Goop specifically, but like that type of California mom who believes in pseudoscience. It's probably an anti-vaxxer.
Yeah. Okay. And now she's looking for like magic fish, and she
thinks
there's like sort of a get better quick solution to everything she needs, and is sort of addicted to that.
She's a Goop enthusiast.
Right. She's doing all of this to save her kid just so that she can fix the fact
probably
that she never had.
We don't want to have a hard stance on that.
Okay. So, but we're just trying to get our vibes right.
Yeah.
Health. Okay, Eleanor, that's a much. Okay, Crunchy from Rehab. Okay, yes, these are all much better than what I was writing. I was
very granola.
There we go.
Love it.
Now she's a health freak to sort of like
Beautiful.
Compensate for the fact that she had these addictions before, right?
Yeah, she wants a organic, like non-pharmaceutical industry solution to her child's problems. That's the type of person who will go. Also, she has to at least have some sort of money, because those are the type of rich white ladies are the people who go to like obscure places to find expensive medicinal solutions.
That's true.
What if she has like a kind of an enabler from rehab, like kind of following around as like a false mentor,
like on the phone?
Well, but what if she's not alone? What if she's traveling with somebody? Because it's a hard movie. We need to be able to kill people off. Yeah.
No, you're right. You're totally right. Let's give her.
She has a new boyfriend.
Rehab counselor. She's not dating. Yeah.
Yeah, like kind of a sketchy rehab counselor.
Well, it's her boyfriend.
Like got her into crystals and shit.
Yeah, like this
What?
isn't. It's not great that she's dating her rehab counselor. So
Yeah.
there we go. Carl, Becky, sorry, mom. Claire, Karen.
Okay.
Jen, she inherits millions from her grandfather's fish canning business.
Let's think about it. All
My
right.
grandpa invented canned fish.
So let's go to her flaw inner need dynamic just for a little bit. So like, if she feels like she has to make up for lost time for her kid, she feels like she has to fix what is wrong with the kid.
It could be. I mean, there's also the option that it's nothing, that she's trying to look for a way to kind of turn back the clock, and
it should be something that's like not like life threatening, but something that's like still maybe chronic or.
But I'm saying, like, if it's selfish, that might help, like, lean into it more. You know what I mean? Like, if it's about, like, the illusion of things. Like, she cares, like, if she's doing this for the wrong reason, like, playing into the glamour thing, like, she cares more about the perception at this point than...
Well, here's an idea.
Stop it, Theo. Stop it.
Oh, God.
The kid has scales, is what Theo says.
Here's an idea, and stop me if this is in any way problematic, but I was wondering if before sort of the reason why she lost custody is because she was high on some terrible drug and while taking care of her kid, and the kid is now in a wheelchair, and the kid has since grown up. The kid has since grown up, like, totally fine with being in a wheelchair and is going to go off to college and, like, live in a wheelchair life, but the mom doesn't accept that and wants to, like, fix that.
Yeah, and that would tie into this. That's kind of about, like, perception.
The only thing we want to avoid is the glamour aspect, not, like, purporting, like, an ableist narrative.
Yeah.
Of, like,
well, I think
I'm so life is so much better now. I don't need it. You know?
Right.
No, she's wrong. Like, that's
she has to accept by the end that her kid doesn't need fixing. She's just doing this for herself.
And that it's her who cares.
But is the kid? But are we going to make a decision that the kid is going to be under the sway of the glamour and the fish?
I thought the kid was far away. I mean, I guess we could pull the kid in.
Well,
I thought she wasn't doing this with the kid.
I would feel it's so much high stakes if the kid is there, right?
That's true.
I was kind of thinking that the kid is the finish line of, like, I'm stealing the fish over here and I'm rushing to get to the kid with the fish before the town catches me.
I guess it could be an interesting dynamic if this mom, like, this is like their first, like, she finally got a weekend with her kid and she spent this whole weekend trying to fix her kid and the kid, like, doesn't want it. Right?
Actually,
like, there's something interesting about that.
I actually do like this a lot. Like, there's a version of this. It presents a new problem. We'll get to that in a second. But, like, if she is actually with the kid, if she, like, takes the kid somewhere, the kid's like, where the hell are we going? It's like, oh, we're going to this town with the fish. It's like, I don't want to go there. But it's like, what other choice do I have? And, like, in this town, somewhere, like, in Act 1, the mother steals a fish and, makes it so that it appears that the kid can walk, and the kid believes that they can walk, and it's just a lot of really complicated feelings. But now, like, the rest of the town is like, give us back that. Like, they learn really quickly that it only works so long as the fish is in proximity to them, so they actually have to take the fish, and so they're on the run. They have to run with the fish because the town wants to get that fish back. And it's only so that she can keep the kid out of the wheelchair. By the end of the story, either they have to return that fish or die, because it's going to go into the kid and turn the kid into a scaly person.
This
but
is true.
Then I
was gonna say it could be kidnapping, which is common.
Yeah, that could. I mean, what if that's a reveal? What if that's a reveal? Like, if like we assume that the mother has custody, or at least has, like, the kid for, like, the week. But it turns out that, like, before the story began, the mother actually stole the kid.
That's good. And the kid maybe doesn't even know. Like, maybe the kid's convinced that this is where they're supposed to be because they lied to the kid. Also, how old is the kid? I think the kid needs to
middle
be
school
of talking, like, full, like a personhood, like, able to, like,
middle school gets, if you go that old, like 13 or 14, you get all the insecurities and awkwardness and stuff.
But here's a thought, though, because I was thinking about if the kid already has this and they're just sort of on the run together, then the big question is, what is sort of the finish line? Like, where is the ending of the movie sort of in sight? And it occurs to me that if we're building up to the night of the ending of the life cycle of these fish, where they all kind of, jump into the human body and kind of commandeer it, if that's slowly happening to the kid as they're on the run, and it's reaching a point of, if we don't stop this now, the kid's going to die.
Like she fed the kid the fish?
Or maybe, or even the kid is just sort of becoming under the fish's sway to the point where soon the kid will just sort of hypnotically like allow the fish to go inside of it.
Does she kill one of the fishes because of one of her health beliefs at some point? Like sort of being like, I've read about this like one like type of treatment. If I can get the scales and make a tea out of it,
that's kind of what I'm thinking starts it. That's kind of what I'm imagining starts it, is like she like goes to this place and she goes to this place, and the first thing she does that really screws them is that she takes a fish and serves it to the kid, basically. And that's what like locks them in. I kind of don't want them to be on the run. I want them to be stuck in the village and have to escape, is what I'm thinking.
Idea. The mother feeds the fish whole to the kid, force feeds, because the kid of course doesn't want it. Kid starts walking and all that. They have to like hide the fact that they don't have that fish, but the town becomes really suspicious. And as the town kind of starts honing in, they realize the fish inside the kid is still alive, and they want to get the fish out of the kid.
Oh, that's great stakes.
But they think they want to get the fish out of the kid. It turns out they want the kid with the fish inside of the kid, because that fish is like the leader of the fish, and it's very important that it just stayed inside a host, and they want the host.
Let's name the kid real quick.
Holly.
So if it's a girl? Okay.
I don't know. I was kind of thinking non-binary. I don't know.
Yeah, Holly.
Holly's
just a name.
Let's do.
Works for anybody.
So
a kid named Kid.
Hey, kid.
Yeah, Mom.
What's a good
Holly?
Holly?
Yeah, why not?
Okay.
I was gonna say something. I like the idea of the fish being inside of Holly and them like, because it makes sense that like she would like be like, oh, I'll pick the smallest one. They won't notice. It's just like a baby, like just from her point of view. But she doesn't realize that that's the most valuable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what if, if in Act 1 the fish is swallowed, and the first half of Act 2 is we're trying to escape this town while also something weird is happening to Holly. Midpoint could be the fish is still alive. That's why they want Holly. And so the mother might change tactics of like, we have to figure out how to get the fish out of you, because otherwise they're going to just take you and throw you into the sea, and you're going to become like a mating ground for the fish.
Yeah. So here's an idea.
So the fish is still alive inside Holly. Town coming after them.
Well, what if town coming after them is call to action, and midpoint is revelation that fish is still alive?
Yes.
Like we think that the town just wants like revenge, but it turns out the town doesn't want revenge. They want Holly alive as the host of this fish.
And here's an idea. So if we want to end with like a birth of one of the baby fishes, like in Act 3 or something, or in All Love Lost, what if like swallowing the fishes is like part of like how swallowing the old fishes, how like they like birth the new ones?
Entirely. That's why they want Holly so much, because Holly got a head start on this process.
And they're like, oh well, I guess this is the kid we're going to use. Like, and
Holly was compatible.
I guess we're doing this tonight.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
And what if Holly was like compatible? Like, what if it like takes like a very like. It says like a side note, like it takes like a very like smart, like it takes a really strong person to be able to support this fish. And
the town,
it's like a miracle that
so their initial reaction would be, oh my God, did you kill the fish? But then they find out that the fish is alive. They'll be like, oh, awesome.
I like it better that it's like a
Alexie's
creepy. I like it better that it's like a creepy worship, like that they like think that she's like amazing rather than being like mad or like trying to get it back. Like more like, holy crap, this child is like the vessel.
Well, I was thinking like Alexie, kind of building on that, like because part of horror is the slow revealing of information that we don't have, that they already have, and I feel like if when we first arrive at the town, they're all preparing for like some big, town square fair or something, we'll learn that what they're actually doing is they're doing a whole ritual to choose who gets to be the first to swallow the fish and become like a breeding ground for the fish, and it's like a big honor. But Holly has no idea about that, and the mother has no idea about that, and they just like jumped the line and just started it. And so that's like, all right, well, the ritual is off because we're going after this person now because this person swallowed the fish.
So what if they're on an
It's
island?
like, oh, this person accidentally self-coronated as the Maid Queen,
What if they're on an island and like there's only a few ways off of it, right? Like maybe like one small private plane or something, or one ferry.
Or that would work. We definitely want to keep them stuck.
And her objective could be, we need to make the ferry in time or something. I need to hide out, or I'm just trying to like make it sort of sense of like, give us a real like sense of parameters for this.
All is lost as they arrive at the ferry and the ferry is on fire.
Yeah, I love that.
And so like the ferry person could be their friend who like brings them in, who has been taking this. The ferry person could be the boyfriend, even like been taking this woman all over the world to like find magical cure-alls, and has rented a boat and took her to this island. Where geographically in the world do we think this island is? Is it in America? Is it like
the Bermuda Triangle?
The Bermuda Triangle. Where is that? Where actually is the Bermuda Triangle?
It's in the Caribbean. Yeah.
So do we want it to be like a Caribbean island? Because I feel like whatever island we choose, it's going to really influence the culture of the town.
We don't want it to be like a colonialism thing necessarily, unless that's the angle we want to go. Right.
Ew.
Vessel.
You know what? I feel like we should just get Theo in the video. Like
Theo, do you want to come in?
These are gross ideas. I love it.
I'm about to say.
You don't have to if you don't want to.
No, but if you want to, I will hook you up right now.
I would say that there's something kind of Stephen King-ish about this, and maybe it's just like an island off the coast of Maine.
Yeah. Well, I like, and just to be totally candid, like it might be easier to do like a small reclusive shitty community when it's like all people from Maine, if that makes sense. Shitty white people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
What I would not want to do is some bastardized version of like voodoo culture.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like, we don't want to make that choice. We can make like a small island off of like Scotland or something.
Yeah.
It depends what culture we want.
They all have a great Scottish accent.
They're just like in the form.
That's also kind of cliche. That's kind of cliche too.
It's like right next to. Where do people go to vacation? Like some island when they're rich. Where do you go?
They're off the coast of Finland.
Yeah.
I get it.
Oh my god.
Well, Theo, if you finish your fudgesicle and would like to join us, I believe you have the link.
You know that creepy parasite that they find sometimes in the mouths of fish that like kind of like replaces their tongue? There's this great parasite that infests fish. It looks like a cockroach crab thing. It goes inside, it clings to their tongue, it replaces their tongue, and then it starts like eating like stuff that comes in through their mouth, through the fish's mouth, and that's kind of like how it lives. And I wonder if there's a point where like these people swallow their fish and the fish become like their tongues, and it's like a parasitic thing.
I hate parasites.
I made Alexie gag. It's in the story.
Theo!
We just lost 3 people. The moment you brought up the parasites, 3 people just dipped out immediately.
God, okay, this is the magic of horror. Horror is a very challenging genre that wants you. It's like dares you to keep watching.
Let's lose the parasites to keep it at the fish itself. Like, fine, but I personally would be into it. But I
was saying that the fish could.
So they take a ferry to a weird island.
Well, the objective
off the US
is
coast.
is to take the ferry.
Yeah.
By
So the
the
objective
sundown
is-
the next day or something.
Well, the objective for getting off the island.
Yeah.
Yeah. Escape on
Because she's
foot.
at this point, she's already had her cure, right?
That's
She's
what
on
they
the
think.
run.
That's what they think is that the kid that Holly is already cured.
Well, I don't
But,
know. I'm just trying to say, like, is it all going to be like she's trying to hide from these people and get away from them?
I think
And some
that,
of them maybe don't know what she's done. Some of them are looking for her. Some of them aren't.
I like the idea
Well-
though that they think that the kid is like amazing.
But
And now
only,
they're gonna worship.
but only
the kid.
after they realize that she's the right type, right? Like there should be an
We keep
initial.
saying she. Are we doing she?
No, we're doing they. We're doing non-binary.
Okay.
Um,
Well,
What if-
I have an idea though. What if they're not looking for a cure? What if the mother is just like, we just have to get you off the island altogether, and it's just a running subplot that this kid is like slowly turning into something.
No, I think the objective should purely be get off the island.
oh
on the
yeah,
ferry.
yeah, just get off the island.
Like,
I think
I
it's
I'm
that.
thinking,
My thought here, I wrote this in, but I forgot to say it out loud. My thought is that they take a ferry to a weird island off the coast of the US, and it's some sort of like in like a rich, affluent area. Like it's not like it's not middle of nowhere. It's like within rich people vacay spots. And when they get to this
the
island,
Hamptons.
yeah, the Hamptons.
An island off of the Hampton.
It's like
Weird
Small
island.
village.
It's like extra Hampton.
Yeah, a weird island by the Hamptons.
No. Okay.
It's good. We're
No.
rolling. We are moving. We are moving forward.
No,
Yeah,
I
we are
thought
running-
that's
we're running
what
out of
they
time.
said. Okay.
We are
I
running
know.
out of time.
So weird they take a ferry to a weird island. Basically, I imagine that the mom and Holly go to their hotel room, and the mom sneaks out. She like sneaks out in the middle of the night, and Claire goes and she steals a fish because she's heard these fish have magical properties. When she gets back, she wants Holly to eat this fish, and you have to eat it alive for the magic to work. Like you need to just like swallow this goldfish. And there's like that horrible scene where Claire makes Holly swallow the goldfish. It's terrible. Throughout the night, Holly gets really, really sick. Like it seems really, really bad, like Holly's gonna die, but then they survive. And suddenly they seem like completely better in some way. If we are gonna go with the fact that like before they couldn't walk, now it seems like they can walk or something like that. Like they seem empowered and because they're glamored. And then after that, they're preparing. They're like, good, now we need to prepare to leave. But the town alarm goes off. Somebody rings the bell. Dear God, our fish is missing. And they try to figure out what happened, and they can tell that they're like basically they locked down the island because of their fish. They locked down the island because the fish is gone, and they're trying to search for the fish. And all that Claire wants is to get off the island with Holly now.
Question: is the boyfriend waiting on the ferry, or is the ferry on like sort of left alone?
The ferry could be like on a schedule.
Okay, so
Maybe.
they took like an official ferry. Yeah, because I just had an idea for a midpoint. Because it occurs to me, if we don't want Claire to be like, we have to get the fish out of you, because we want Claire to need the fish to stay in
I
Holly
think that could
until
be
like,
at the end, you know.
So
Yeah.
what if so like the midpoint, a couple things could happen. Reveal that the town is not trying to, like kill Claire and Holly. They just want Holly for the ritual. So that's one thing. They want Holly alive for the ritual. But two, Holly's father and like a couple of cops could show up at the island and be like, "You stole our kid."
Theo!
Theo!
He's been here for like 8 minutes. We didn't notice.
I was just watching. I was having a good time.
What do you guys think of that? The like, what if like at the midpoint the father and like some cops show up to be like, you stole Holly, like you do not have custody. We had to track you here.
And then they all get killed by the fish cult.
Yeah, but also they don't see the glamour. They just see the reality, and so they keep being like freaked out and horrified by the whole thing. And it might turn out that actually Holly has been crawling on their forearms.
Only if the father and cops
Oh.
die horrifically by Act 3.
Of course they will. Of
Yeah,
course they will.
good,
That's
good,
why you
good,
add more
good.
people to the horror.
Right, no, we need more. You're right that we need more characters to kill.
Yeah, you gotta.
Well, and if the boyfriend is killed, because if he had a boat and he gets killed, maybe in the boat, and the boat's gone, then that's another avenue, and it could be a
Yeah.
horrific death.
Yeah, well, that's why I was thinking that instead of coming by ferry, they came by the boyfriend's boat.
Mhm.
That's fair enough. So it could be that the boyfriend.
And then is the
So the
boyfriend
boyfriend's
is the
with
boyfriend like
them.
living on the boat?
That could be. Is the boyfriend waiting for them? The boyfriend didn't go with them. Because I imagine that like the dad like rolls up with like his, like if you're going for that midpoint, it sounds like the dad's rolling up with like the cops on like this little ferry, and then they all get killed, right? At
Well,
the
there could be
midpoint.
this. Maybe. Well, like I wonder if, sort of like, end of Act 1, the boyfriend like, you know, like sort of like end of Act 1, the boyfriend's ferry might get destroyed, and then when the cops show up with the husband, they brought their own boat, so it's like we have a new way off the island, and that becomes like a
Oh,
focal
yeah.
point of the action.
To lock down the island. I think that should be a big part of like when the town alarm goes off because
Yeah.
the fish know they know that the fish is missing. They lock down the island, and so the boat is captured. The boat is taken.
Right, which
Or
means
the
that when the
boat
cops
has-
show when the cops show up, they have brought a new boat, and that becomes a, you know, a
Mhm.
potential avenue of escape. But it's also, you know, a problem because the cops are not, you know, they're not here to be friendly.
The boyfriend's name is Rick.
It's a good name.
Nice. Because also, like, if there's a point where, you know, the husband shows up and says to Claire, you know, you need to give me back our kid, and Claire says, but look at them, they're walking, and the husband's like, what the hell are you talking about? They're crawling. You know, like that could be a nice little creepy moment.
Or David is the name of the
Or
dad.
Slink.
There we go.
Slink.
Creepy deepy. So let's go back to our flaw and inner need real quick because I think that we need to pin that down, right?
Yep.
So Claire, 30, she's a crunchy from rehab, health freak, lost custody of her child due to addiction, and now what does she want? She wants to fix Holly, or are we still going that angle?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Once
the
it-
inner need is to not want to do that.
Yeah, it's to
Or
realize
to
that
be
she
a good mother.
can't fix her child.
Yeah.
Like,
And also just like stop trying to be a
Control.
hero. Like you're not going to make it all better.
Yeah.
You know,
You can't fix the past.
you can't fix
Yeah.
the past. And also maybe the past doesn't need to be fixed. Things are how they are.
Yeah. But here we go. My child doesn't need to be fixed, and I don't need to be their savior. I can't change the past. And then the flaw is I need to fix my child. It's basically like for a selfish thing, so
or
that
no,
like I
it's
can
not just
excuse
I
my
need
guilt.
to. It's only I.
So
Because
I
that's
can
where the
undo my
savior-
mistakes.
Only I can
Only-
save my child. Right.
Or
Eh,
I must save my child because that will mean I didn't break my child.
To undo the mistake.
Yeah.
I think this would be a good one to have a dark ending. I think that they should like when they're like finally like on the boat escaping, Holly should have sort of a, you know, like becoming either a monster or a host to monsters moment, and they have to like try to save them, and it just leads to them all dying.
But then Holly gets to take over Fish Island.
Yeah, as like this scaly fish creature hybrid thing.
Mhm. Wow, here we
There's
go.
the new fish god.
Is Holly becoming a monster that eats the cops and the dad?
And last, mom.
Yep.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yep. The boyfriend's boat gets swept to sea in a storm. Yeah. I think it definitely like they should be like, well, the boat's gone. I don't know what to tell you. Sort
Yeah.
of like creepy.
I like getting rid of the boat. I'm not sure about Storm because I want the antagonist to do it.
So who's the antagonist? Who's going to be the lead of the creeps?
Who owns the Airbnb that they're staying in?
Oh,
Who's like the caretaker, the head caretaker of the fish, right? Like that's kind of like their role, right?
The high priest
That's
of
true.
Dagon.
Like a sweet old man.
A what?
Like a sweet old man who takes care of the fish.
Okay, let's do it. Sweet old man. What is his name?
Christopher Lee.
Christopher Lee.
I'm just thinking about Christopher Lee from The Wicker Man, because he's like the very jolly rich leader of this pagan island. It'd be actually kind of funny if we just went with calling him Christopher Lee.
It's Christopher Lee.
Christopher Lee as himself.
Yep, he's come back from the dead.
He's the head, the big fish.
And his whole thing, and so if he is an antagonist, and may he's like also believes that you have to fix your kid, but through the glamour fish stuff.
Yeah, like you owe this to your child.
Yeah.
To like let them become one with the ancient primordial fish of the depths.
Christopher Lee has a kid who looks splendid and wonderful, and is, of course, underneath the glamour, completely like wasted away.
His kid was supposed to be
Alexie.
the one.
The one, yeah.
Stop it! Stop it! Jesus. This is why I should never have given you control to pull comments on the screen, Adam.
No.
But
yeah, no,
I like
totally
that though about his kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like it was gonna be his kid who got to be like the vessel, and he like raised this kid to like be the vessel, and then Holly just comes up, eats the fish, and is a perfectly fine vessel.
Yep.
And also like the kid could, because like Christopher Lee is like, oh, it's Holly now? Okay, we're going for Holly. But like Christopher Lee's kid could be like, that was supposed to be my honor, and could be like Holly's antagonist.
Yeah.
Well,
like you don't even want it. I want it. Give it to me. I'm gonna reach in your throat and pull it out.
What's the son's name?
Are we doing a son?
I thought maybe.
Well, Christopher Lee's son.
Yeah.
Leeson.
Leeson.
I'm just making stuff up. Please don't use my ideas. What the hell?
I roll with it. We don't have time to question names.
Sure, Leeson. It's just an island where they do that.
Yeah, that's just the thing they do until you're of age, and then you get to choose your own name, right? And that guy chose Christopher Lee, right?
So he's been raising his own son. Leeson.
Did you learn
He just felt that he had Christopher Lee vibes.
What did you say, Theo?
I said someone has to say, "Did you learn your lesson?"
Oh God.
Oh God.
Disgusting.
I'll sing myself out.
The only about this comment about should the boyfriend be the antagonist, the only reason why I feel like the boyfriend shouldn't be the antagonist is that I feel like this should be this should be Claire's emotional damage. Yeah. They should own like I must fix my child because of the past stuff.
And it's the easy way out is to make the boyfriend the antagonist.
I think that Leeson should be Holly's antagonist without being the plot's antagonist, sort of like a sub, kind of like an obstacle that is aimed very directly
because
at.
They're like, you took my destiny.
Yeah, because he could challenge them a little bit and be like, don't you think that you don't want this? I want this. Don't you think that you should want this? Like what? Yeah. Like, this is such an honor to be made into like a divine being, and you just want to be in a wheelchair. And like Holly could have a moment of sort of like self-questioning as a result of that. But of course, Holly has to kill Leeson, right?
What
if pre-fish monster phase, like before the climax?
What if this creepy Christopher Lee man has had like a zillion children, and Leeson is like finally the one that seems right in his line to be the
one that survived?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, he had a bunch of children.
Pictures on the wall.
Ugh.
There was a Swamp Thing comic book by Alan Moore where there is an egg full of, that like sort of like hatches underwater and releases like thousands of like weird, creepy fish monsters, like that are all baby fish monsters, and they immediately start sort of a feeding frenzy where they're all just like eating each other until only like the fittest is left, and then that's just the one that proceeds. And maybe Leeson just ate all of his siblings.
Ew. Meant to be the vessel for the head fish.
Head fish in charge.
So what if most people who eat the fish die very quickly after?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Most people
they get the skin bumps.
Yes. Where it's like Holly reacts like symbiotically with the fish, and in a way like that's very visual.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
when it looks like Holly's dying in Act 1, everybody in town could be like there to like try to help and be like, it's a shame, it's such a shame what's happening to them. Oh, wait, they're
Oh yeah,
rebounding.
the mom Claire could like realize this is going bad and like rush to like the small island doctor and be like, save my baby, and
We
like
need a prayer
reveal
circle.
and like reveal like what she's done. That way the island knows, right?
Yeah, I think the
It might
island
be
should know. And I think
interesting. It might be interesting if the immediate reaction of like the island when they find out that Holly ate the fish isn't necessarily negative. It's more like, they're like, oh, the kid's gonna die and we're gonna get the fish back because.
it's like, oh, you shouldn't have done that. I'm so
But
sorry.
when they realize, oh wait, she's not dying, that's when they freak out. Like they more of like, oh, we're gonna keep tabs on her until she dies, right? Is their first reaction.
There we go.
Sorry,
Claire.
Bobby, what were you gonna say?
Claire rushes Holly to the doctor, but
I
they
just have an
survive.
image. I just have an image of Holly in their bed in like the Airbnb, like sort of like a cottage with like candlelight, just surrounded by townsfolk doing a prayer circle.
Oh
Humming.
yeah.
And then of course Holly survives and everybody starts acting really weird and people start taking swipes at Claire with knives and like things like that. And it's like, oh, I think we gotta go.
Oh, and
This
we
is
could
getting
like
weird.
they're
see
gonna die.
in that moment.
What if it like
we could see like a flash of the glamour, right? Of like,
yeah.
oh, you're going to like her in the wheelchair, but like as a giant fish head instead, right? Just as a moment of like visual bullshit. Be great.
Maybe when they first show up, they're kind of like, there's not really anything we can do. But then we see that Holly actually seems to be like, they like pass this mark and it seems like they're actually gonna live through this. And now the whole town is like praying around Holly.
Yeah.
Right? So like, so it's like at first they're kind of like, well, they need to stay here kind of a thing. Like, because they think that they're just gonna get the fish back. What?
I have a question because I have an idea, but I want to know what you guys think about it in terms of structure. Because I think it would work. I just don't know if it would fit necessarily the kind of normal John Warren beat sheet, which is end of Act 1, OMG, Holly survived. I wonder if the first half of Act 2 is the town being like weirdly friendly and, Claire kind of like reacting of like, OMG, I've saved my kid, but just like kind of like weird about it, and Holly being like, I don't know how I feel about this, and kind of build that tension over the first half of Act 2. And then midpoint is we gotta run.
I like that. I like Claire finding like a home in this community when they're accepting Holly, and everyone's so welcoming, and it's so alien to Claire, and then everything slowly breaks down. But as that's happening, it's really like a slow burn. Everything gets stranger, and there's more horror elements.
Okay,
yeah, it's
so
like
basically
they think that they found their place, but it's not.
So the new world is it John Warren speak. The new world is the first half of Act 2 of, these town people are like really getting weird and kind of encroaching. Like things are not what they seem. I feel uncomfortable. We should get out of here like subtly. And the new world is, oh my God, we need to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, like they might not even realize, like our heroes might not even realize that this island is on lockdown just yet. They might assume that they're able to leave, but it becomes increasingly clear that they can't.
Like the ferry gets delayed, right, at first. And then like...
Yeah, there's all of these, slow elements that build up.
The midpoint is when they realize maybe what is really happening.
So...
Yeah, and so like sometime in the midpoint they try to escape, and the ferry is destroyed and they don't know what to do. And I think Claire makes a call to the husband of like, you're looking for me, here I am, come get me, because that's the way off the island. Bring in a boat.
Mm-hmm. And do we want the dad kind of cops to come later on?
Yeah, I think what if the call is sort of made kind of around the midpoint area, but they only show up kind of at the like sort of near the all is lost of Act 2, because they're the ones who show up and say, I don't know what you're seeing, but nobody looks healthy and our kid is like not walking.
So here we go. So the midpoint is we reveal that the big holy fish is still alive in Holly, and this is all a glamour at this point. Do we know that here or not yet?
I think not yet. I think we don't see the glamour just yet.
We also know that Claire kidnapped Holly. At this point, Claire calls David to get help getting off the island.
Yeah, which means that until the boat shows up, they just kind of have to like, you know, skulk around and stay out of sight. And
Oh, they want Holly to do a ceremony.
Yeah, so which means that, you know, the like until the boat shows up, they're trapped on this island with people who are straight up after them.
It seems like the all is lost would be that Holly gets taken.
It should also be the reality.
I think it should be all of these things. I think that like wait, we're saved. Here's David and some cops, and they're here to save us. And oh no, they tell us that it's all fake. Oh no, their boat just got firebombed. Oh no, now Holly's been taken.
Yes.
Like
So
everything
David-
kind of,
And also that the glamour has been dispelled from her point of view. Like she should see what has been really the case all along.
yeah. I kind of like the idea of keeping the boat in existence, because I kind of want the final scenes to be like they've escaped on the boat, but now Holly is like transforming on the boat.
Maybe the little boat, like the boyfriend's boat, gets disappeared, and then they find it in this process of finding Holly.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
right.
that's gross. So like one of the creepy things is they find over here, like they find that the boat was like destroyed. And that's like part of leading up to like the midpoint of like realizing, oh, this is bad. It's like that's like one of the creepy things, right?
And Rick's body is on the boat, and it looks like he had been force fed a fish. He had been force fed a fish and just sort of exploded outward.
I love that.
That's
It's a fast way to kill someone, right?
Yeah.
And showcase exactly what that looks like.
Yeah.
How does the fish exit the body of someone who's just died?
The pores.
Their
Why it-
source.
The pores.
Stop!
This stretch the pores. I know they should find him like on the verge of death, and he's like, "Kill me! I'm in the movie Aliens. You know, like I'm that person." And then like
Ugh.
the fish starts spilling out.
This is why you write horror, Avi.
Oh, it wiggles out of his eye socket,
Ooh,
pushes his eye out.
That's
Yeah.
great. That's great.
I'll say fish
You got,
killed
like a
him
little goldfish, like little
and
flapping out.
gets
That's
out.
disgusting.
All I'm saying is fish killed him and gets out. That is all we're doing. I'm not saying his
You know that
eyeball.
in the screenplay for Alien, when the baby alien bursts out of that guy's chest, in the script I think it just says the thing emerges. Like I'm pretty sure that's all it says.
That's great.
Eleanor, why are you doing this to me too? Everybody is against me in this world.
That's what I was thinking, Eleanor. We're on the same pathway here.
Everyone
Ugh.
betray me.
Everyone's just a lot darker than you are, Alexie.
No, I don't mind dark. I mind nasty.
Oh, nasty.
Freaking
Everyone's
nasty.
nasty.
We're all nasty.
Everyone's nastier than
Everyone
you.
is nasty.
Alexie, we learned this on the bee thing. If we say a thing and you have a visceral reaction, it goes in the beat sheet.
Yeah, because it means it's working, right?
Yeah, you are the barometer.
Am I your target audience?
No,
you're
you're
the
the
person
line.
who's sitting next to the target
Yeah.
audience who feels
You're the
really
line.
uncomfortable.
You're the thin line, the thin red-walled line.
Well, there we go.
There you go.
Eleanor, you are totally fine.
Yeah.
So there we go. So basically they're on this island. Is their island to escape? Is the objective then to escape the
It's
island?
the
or
ferry.
what's-
It's the ferry. It's get
Yeah,
on.
the
It's
ferry.
leave right by the ferry.
Yeah.
Escape on the ferry.
So is that? But they don't necessarily. They're not in a rush for
No,
it.
I think
at the
it's
beginning.
escape on the David police boat, right? Because I think they pretty quickly realize they don't have
Well,
a
in
ferry.
that case, that would mean that she didn't need to make the phone call at the Act 1 break.
We're gonna just need
Well,
to
okay, so
escape
that's-
the island, right?
Right.
the-
Yeah, I mean,
This is
I
a
think-
semantic thing, but it's sort of
yeah,
like
I mean,
what's
Adam,
her
I
understanding
think
what she's going after.
the goal in general is just get off the island with daughter.
Yeah,
But
that's
sorry,
right.
not daughter, child. I don't know why I made that mistake also. But you know, in the first half of Act 2, it's assumed that this will just kind of happen naturally. You just kind of have to reach that point. And then the second half of Act 2 is we have to do this by any means possible right now. But the goal is always just get off the island with intact child.
So what are some other creepy obstacles that they find? Like I imagine they're like
Michelle's
getting-
note is very good.
What does Michelle say? I need to take a peek.
Here, let me-
Ooh, what?
Well, okay, so what do we do with the dead fish, right? No, this is the world building. We should answer the actual thing. But like, if
The fish turns out is alive and inside Holly.
So we see some weird, some like uncomfortable fish traditions.
Yes, that's a good way to put it.
I think it would be really funny if Claire at some point reacted to like, wow, imagine the antioxidants, you know?
Yeah, I feel like
Yeah.
she's into it at first. Like she's like, oh my, these are my people. I have found my place.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then
I
it
mean,
unravels.
you know, maybe their phones have gone missing. You know, their ability to make calls. Their
Oh,
ability
yeah.
Or the signal mysteriously is gone, and they're like, oh, it's just rolling
Yeah.
blackouts. It happens all the time here.
There's
No
just
phone signal. They're being
which
watched.
means that at the midpoint they have to find a way to do that. So that's like an obstacle.
They
in
find a
itself.
landline phone
Yeah.
in somebody's house.
And then it's like, what was his number again? It was in my contacts.
And they've got to rotary dial it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
As someone's pounding on the door.
We should have a chase
Yeah.
scene.
And
before
Holly's
the
like,
ultimate test.
Mom, why is there a hashtag on this phone?
I think in sort of the first half of Act 1 obstacles, there could be also like there's just no privacy anymore, and the town like keeps wanting to give these really weird foods to Holly that Holly doesn't want, but they're sort of like forcing Holly to have, and then
You mean,
there
like,
are
what
like weird bodily
like-
things happening with Holly.
And they dress them like they want them to wear these like clothings.
Yeah. It's like, oh, your clothes were lost in a flood. Here's robes. It's all we have left. It's from our Goodwill. We just have a robes Goodwill.
Oh yeah, here's a robe and a crown and a scepter, but it's just what we have.
And I think that the weird symptoms should totally ramp up in the new obstacles. You know,
Yeah.
like there should be a moment of like we need to escape, but right now we got to deal with the fact that Holly is freaking out over their new gills. You know, like moments like that.
I love
This
the
is
idea
like
of gills.
Ew,
'Cause
stop.
It just comes out as like, you know, as like slits, you know?
No.
It's like my gills are bleeding.
I'm dead.
All right,
I do
Adam.
like this idea that Michelle and Eleanor are talking
Let's
about.
move on to new obstacles in the second half of Act 2.
Well, I was saying I like this idea that Michelle and Eleanor are talking about incorporating like different like to inspire the fishy traditions that are happening, sort of like using other cultures. Jan is against me too. Everybody's against me.
So new
Gills are
obstacles
good.
under New World. It's definitely gills. Holly's transformation accelerates.
I kind of wonder if like the omega-3 stuff should all just be like Claire, right? Because Claire is
100%.
into woo-woo
she's
stuff, and it's like,
licking Holly's fingers.
Oh my god.
oh my god.
I apologize.
Does her eyes change?
Yeah, she gets fishy eyes
Fish eyes.
Well, okay, here's an obstacle.
like
At
that.
some point, just like big googly eyes.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Here's or like, you know how like some like reptiles have like underneath their normal eyelids, there's also kind of like sideways eyelids.
Oh, I hate
She kind
that.
of just like if like if they just sort of develop sideways eyelids, and it's just like a moment that we notice it. But here's a thought though. Here's a thought. What if like at some point Claire like injures her ankle or something and is having a hard time walking, and then through the magic that's sort of being cast off of Holly, Claire is like able to walk. It's like, OMG, this is amazing. You're not just, you know, you're not just healing yourself, you're healing everyone around you. This is gonna like, you're gonna be the best thing ever if I break through the land. And then like in the third act, like that's a glamour too. Oh, your ankle is like a mess.
Seems to be healing everyone, including Claire. Ankle injury. Okay. So at the ultimate test, we have David and the cops show up to the island, and they don't see the glamour. There's a big fight. How could How could Claire screw this up with her flaw?
Maybe
Our big
Claire,
moment, right?
like David David wants to take Claire, but
Yes.
Holly, but Claire has this moment where she's like, but think of all of the like people we could save with Holly like this.
I don't necessarily. I think it should be more selfish than that. Like more based on like I'm not going to give you Holly.
The
She has to stay with me. Like it's maybe like she has an opportunity to like hand Holly off, and doesn't take it because she can't be with them.
Yeah.
Oh,
right. Like
so it's like there's like a jet ski, and there's only room on the jet ski for David and Holly. And Claire's like, you're not going to go without me, and is like trying to like fight.
Also,
David
the fact that it's David really plays into the history, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe it's what if it's like David and the cops show up on two boats, and it's like Holly, you're coming with Dad. Claire, you're getting in the police boat, and they're going to take you off to jail. And it's like, no, I want to be with my kid. This is the whole point. And that arguing slows them down, and they lose their chance.
Okay, but Claire is getting arrested. David is going to take Holly, but Claire is getting arrested.
And Claire slows down, ruins the moment.
Slows them down enough to get ambushed, right?
Oh, actually, I just had a random thought. So midpoint, right? Claire calls David and cops. What if Claire doesn't make the call? I know it sort of like pushes protagonist, but I wonder if Holly makes that call and Claire's like, I can't believe you did that, but I guess we have to go along with it.
Right.
Oh, that's good. That's much better.
So Holly calls David. Claire reluctantly goes along with that plan.
I mean, I imagine
Claire's out of the
like,
room.
Upset.
It gives Holly more agency in the fact that they want to have a relationship with David, or they want David to come and save them, and Claire wants to be the savior.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And there could be, and maybe sort of like when the cops show up, that's kind of when we realize, okay, Claire was not supposed to have Holly. That's sort of the big moment of like, we just thought Claire was like, I can't believe you called your father just because they were on bad terms. But it turns out actually it's because Claire abducted Holly.
Yes.
Cool. And I like this. We saw some good. Michelle just really wants to get me today because Michelle said, some fish you can see the insides.
That's brilliant.
I will say, like, so if Holly is taken and all of that, I will say that the climax of Dagon is they're all about to sacrifice a woman to a being, and they have to like go and disrupt that ritual. And I wonder if there's something different that we could do.
Well, it doesn't have to be necessarily like a sacrifice. It's more of like a symbiotic, like you're going to like either turn into the new fish god or birth the new fish god. Like,
what if here's something gross?
Yes.
What if it's
that's
something
me
like
getting in the swing of it?
I know. What if Holly has become the fish god and is now like gonna eat Claire, and so Claire has to, or like Claire lets herself get eaten because she's eaten something that will kill the fish. You know what I mean?
in the final fight?
Yeah. Like in the like all or nothing, basically Claire has to let herself get eaten by Holly fish, and then whatever, and then like Claire.
I feel like Holly should live.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. It would like basically whatever. It's basically that like Claire like makes herself poison to the big fish, so that when big fish Holly eats Claire.
But does Holly die?
No.
So it fails.
Fish. Yeah, so the fish like comes out of Holly, and it's just like this little guy.
No, what I was saying is, do we want to have it be the thing where Holly becomes like a non-fish at the end?
Oh, I guess it depends.
Right, because if Holly becomes the, like, we have to think also if they're having like physiological changes, like I think realistically, like if your eyes turn into fish eyes, you're not going to undo that. Or if your eyes start to like separate, like that's kind of permanent bone structure changes. Like it's kind of
maybe Holly decides to take it on at some at the end, and they're like, you know what? No, I'm gonna run with this.
But we could hear the fish's voice speaking to Holly sometimes. Maybe that could be interesting.
I have a gross idea. Yeah. So they take Holly, and they've locked up Claire and they've killed David and the police, and the boats are like still there, but like they manage, they take Holly and they're all gonna do this big ceremony, and Claire doesn't know what to do. So what Claire does is Claire swallows a fish and goes in and rescues Holly and gets Holly onto a boat and manages to like escape and all of that, and then like on the boat the two of them become like thoughtless monsters.
And they're going to be thoughtless monsters together.
Yeah.
But like thoughtless monsters in a way that like disrupts what the village wants in terms of having like two new fish added to the pantheon or whatever.
Yeah, because they're on a boat drifting out to sea.
Right.
Is there a way they can somehow sabotage the group before they leave?
Yeah, I think we should have a thing where like a lot of the fishes get killed. Like in
I'm
Act 3.
imagining that the ceremony is like everybody like standing at like some like underwater, like underground cove where like a cave that becomes water, and they all like swallow fish and explode themselves out essentially as part of this ritual, and all the baby fish just sort of like swim into like that underwater cove. Maybe
Claire poisons the fish pond.
So what if Claire
with her goop stuff,
right, or like changes like the water like pool that they're going to like that the fish are all going to like,
she salts it.
Yeah, she turns it to salt water or something.
with bath salts.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
There you go.
Right.
With her goop. Her
MLM
salt.
bath salts.
Here's one idea. Like, so if they're the last two fishes on the boats on the way on the ship back at the end of the movie, like we could have a thing where like because of this symbiotic process or whatever, like all the fish, like maybe these are like those immortal jellyfishes that like need kind of like this rebirth to like they don't birth new versions of themselves exponentially. They're just like a one-to-one. Well, this fish will now turn into a young one, and then it ages, then it turns like it's like a cycle. So like all the fish that die are like dead permanently.
Well, what if like when they're on the boat and they both become kind of like creatures, if the younger one, which is Holly, eats Claire, which is the older one, and then just sort of jumps off the boat and is like in the ocean somewhere.
That's a great resolution for sure. But let's do the all or nothing. Maybe she salts the pond.
Well, what can we set up kind of early?
What would do with her?
Claire?
It has to be like committing. It has to be trying to overcome the flaw. So like,
you're right,
I don't need to be their true savior. My child doesn't need to be fixed. It needs to be the real. Basically, maybe it's like empowering Claire or empowering Holly to help themselves somehow.
What if she fails to grow? What if she fails her test?
Yeah.
Then she'd have to get worse, I think.
What's the most sort of like selfish thing that she could do here?
Kill Holly.
She decides to ditch. Kill Holly.
So that's why she would like salt the.
She would rather Holly die than
become that thing.
Than lose them.
Yeah.
Okay.
But somehow it kind of works out perfectly that Holly survives, and Holly could kind of be like in their weakened state, like, I can't believe you saved me, and Claire being like, yeah, that's what I meant to do. Yeah, I finally did. I fixed it. This is how it's all working out. And then of course they both start to transform.
But then Holly's like, but I'm so hungry.
Claire would rather Holly die than lose them. So
Claire is just like the worst anti-hero. Right. I love it.
So I do like the idea of like they kill all the other fish, right?
Yeah.
Like they find earlier on like where like the ceremony is going to take place, and that they're going to dump all the fish into the magical pond or whatever.
And there's something that happens where Claire learns that the salt is their anathema or whatever.
Yeah, well, I think that Claire would learn this when dealing with whatever happens to Rick, right? Because if Rick sort of explodes into a bunch of fish and they have to deal with those fish, then whatever they find whatever they're sort of freaking out on the broken ferry and throw at the fish. Whatever works is the thing they
Like
now
a bag of
notice.
salt. Do they keep bags of salt on
Maybe
boats?
Claire is not
It's like-
as is not as sober as everybody thought, and actually just has like a bag of cocaine.
the whole time. So
And
like
just
look
sort
at
of
this.
That would
This
be
is-
really
Okay.
interesting.
So this is kind of interesting because we talk about anti-heroes a lot. And so when we were originally setting this up, we were doing a positive inner need, that my child doesn't need to be fixed and I don't need to be their savior. That would have been a positive change. But if we want to do an anti-hero, we do a negative change. And the natural opposite of I must save my child, undo my mistakes is if I can't save my child should be dead.
Or
Like,
at the very
if I-
least, no one can. Right.
No
Yeah,
one
no
can.
one can.
I'm going to fix my mistakes by just erasing the whole board.
Erasing.
It's better to erase my mistakes.
I like I like the drug idea though, because it could be an interesting contrast where it's this constant conflict for her, where she's always looking at it and thinking about it, and continually decides not to, and then has that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because also it's part of her lie, right? The lie of I'm better now and I can fix everything.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, well I mean I haven't touched this stuff in a moment,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
like
So
don't judge me on that.
So,
So
is
Claire-
what is the final fight?
So the final fight, for it to be a catastrophic failure, it has to look like Holly died. Right? Because it has to look,
Yeah.
we're flipping everything. So it has to
All
look
the
like
fish
Holly
float
died.
to the surface.
Well, what if because it's a horror movie, I wonder if we do a reverse where it looks like a catastrophic success, and then
Yes.
we
Right,
end
right,
on
right.
it. Right, it's like everything's
like-
going great until
Looks like Holly lived, all the fish died, all is great.
And what do they do?
Maybe then
They get on the
maybe Claire tries
boat.
to Claire now is trying to take credit for the good thing that happened.
Yeah.
I meant to save you. Get on the boat. It's my boat. What happened to Dad? Don't worry about it. Get on the boat.
So this is
Success.
there.
Just a catastrophic.
We go catastrophic success, and then because we're doing the anti-hero journey.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of interesting.
That
Well,
is
it's a very horror movie thing to do. The sort of the false victory before
Yep.
the rug pull, because
And,
it wouldn't be a very easy, catastrophic success. Like there's still going to be like violence involved with the, really decrepit, unglamorized townfolk.
Maybe they
But-
burn the town.
Maybe.
Maybe
without
really
the
it's
glamour,
just
they-
that-
I've seen movies where they do that.
I think
Maybe
Maybe
glamour
it's
being
really that
dispelled
Holly is
the thing.
glamored. I think it's that Claire. I think it's that it works so much that now Holly is glamoring Claire and believing that this good thing happened.
Oh, that's good. So Claire sees Holly getting better, but
Mhm.
it's just the glamour.
Oh,
Holly's protecting.
what if them being on the boat at the end is revealed at the very last minute to be a glamour, and they're actually just in the cave, surrounded by dead people, and
Yeah.
baby fish,
And
and
dead
they're
fish.
both,
And then Holly's
both-
just
and
this
they're both
giant
about to
fish
change.
eating- Yeah.
yeah.
And there's
That's
got to
great.
be a moment where where the mouth opens and it's just this gaping like fish mouth.
Oh yeah, with like rows of teeth.
Like
Ugh,
sorry, Alexie.
ugh.
Yeah. And I kind of
Horrible
I
last
want
scene.
I want
With
Claire to
ugly
change
fish.
tune. I kind of want Claire to change tune for Holly to eat Claire.
Holly eats Claire.
Yeah, Holly has to eat Claire.
The end.
There we go.
Hey,
So now, do we
Hey.
want to do a run through of the whole movie to show everybody what we made here today?
Yeah, do a run through, Alexie.
do it.
Oh, I do it.
Yeah, you're so
Yeah,
good.
because you're going to have the best reactions to what you are reading.
Okay. So here we go. This is our story, which we are calling Vessel for now. So Claire is this woman in her 30s. She is a crunchy from rehab. She was a health freak who in the past lost custody of her child Holly due to an addiction. right now she's really, really fixated on, I must save Holly to fix my mistake. So when she lost Holly, it was because of an accident that happened due to her being intoxicated, and Holly can't walk. So now Claire wants to fix it. Claire wants Holly to walk again. So with her rehab counselor boyfriend, Rick, Claire takes Holly to a little weird island in the Hamptons, which Adam hates. And this island is like, she's heard rumors about this island, and there are weird fish here. It's like a really, really tiny little insular community. And that night when Claire and Holly are there, Claire steals this tiny little magic fish who looks very cute and forces her child, Holly, to eat this fish alive. There's alarms going off about how Claire stole this fish. The town's freaking out, but Holly successfully eats the fish. Immediately, Holly starts getting horribly sick. It looks like Holly is going to die. Claire has to rush Holly to the doctor. Everyone's just kind of like, this is the end. Like, they ate the fish. But then we see a little glimmer of hope. We see that Holly might actually pull through, and now stuff gets weird. The town starts like praying around Holly, and Holly's body is doing lots of weird things, and then they survive. And it suddenly seems like Holly can walk. From this point forward, the town thinks that they've witnessed some kind of miracle, and they're being super, super nice to Holly and Claire. It's super creepy, and they're worshiping Holly. So now all Claire and Holly need to do is get off the island together the next day, and Claire gets to come back to home and be a super mom who cured her child and fixed her mistake. On this island, we meet this old man named Christopher Lee, who had been watching this fish. He was the fish's owner, we believe, and he has a son named Leeson, who is really not pleased that Holly has ate the fish. We basically find out that, I guess we need to figure out how this whole thing is being revealed. But the townspeople keep getting weirder and weirder and like encroaching on them. We notice that there's all these weird, uncomfortable fish traditions. They have no phone signal. The boat. They haven't been able to find Rick. They feel like they're being watched. Weird stuff is happening to Holly. Holly's getting all these strange symptoms. Holly is getting treated very odd, like dressed funny. And then eventually, Claire finds the completely trashed boat and Rick on the boat. Rick is almost dead. Rick is on the verge of death. He says that he's been force-fed a fish, and then suddenly the fish kills him and bursts out of him disgustingly through his eyeball or something gross. Then,
and they kill it with salt or whatever they kill it with.
They kill it.
Yep.
They just attack it. So at this point, we learn that the big holy fish is still alive inside of Holly, and that everybody's trying to worship this fish as it's taking over Holly's body. Holly at this point panics and calls their dad, David, for try to get help getting off the island. Claire's pissed that Holly would try to involve David and the cops, but they're at this point now where it's gone from like benign and creepy to like actively bad. They just, killed the boyfriend. They're trying to rope Holly into this creepy ceremony. We also start seeing Holly's powers. Claire gets an ankle injury, and just by being near Holly, it seems to heal the injury immediately. Holly's body gets grosser. Holly gets gills and fish eyes and creepy eyelids, and maybe becomes kind of transparent and nasty. And meanwhile, Claire's trying to get off the island. At the ultimate test, the father, David, and the cops show up to the island, but they don't see the glamour. They don't see this like fake image of everything that Claire and Holly have been seeing. What they see is the truth, and they see that these people are messed up. that Holly has actually been like crawling around has not been cured at all. Claire's ankle is freaking trashed and disgusting and nasty. And David is going to take Holly, and Claire is going to go to jail. And Claire is not accepting this at all. Claire is trying to, basically, Claire is not willing to let them all just hurry up and get on the boat. Claire's fighting David there, and it slows them down enough that they get ambushed by the town. David and the cops get killed. Claire gets captured. Holly gets taken. Now we're into Act 3. Holly is gone and can't actually walk. The glamour is dispelled. And we also learned at that big fight that Claire had abducted Holly. Holly was not even supposed to be with Claire, so Claire's just like a real piece of trash. There's going to be the big fish ceremony when Holly is supposed to completely be overcome by the fish and become the new primordial god. In this moment of complete failure, Claire realizes that she would rather that if she can't fix Holly, nobody will, and basically that she would rather Holly die than to lose them. So Claire finds a way to break into the ceremony and salt the pond where all these fish are going to be. The freshwater fish. This is going to kill them. Instead of actually killing them, it looks like Claire sees that Holly lived. It looks like this last minute action that Claire did was successful. Basically killed all the fish. The fish came out of Holly. All is great. Claire now tries to pretend like, oh, Holly, I knew it was going to save you. Like, it's so good that happened. Let's escape together. They get on the boat and they're riding away into the sunset. And we find out that really Holly had completely transformed into the fish, but then they glamored everything. So truly, Claire is still in the cove, surrounded by dead fish, and Holly eats Claire. The end.
Vessel.
I like it. This actually kind of works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I love that that's the response at the end of any of these like build a story thing. Like, it kind of works.
No, it's like because we're always surprised, like because we don't know, right? Like it's
Thematically resonant horror movie.
Yeah.
There you go.
We did it.
There
So
you go.
I hope that I know this is a long coffee class. These always are. These always end up going an hour and a half or 2 hours.
It's one of the shortest ones we've done yet, though.
I know. This is pretty freaking miraculous. Gotta avoid the sci-fi. We almost got into the weeds of the mythology, but saved ourselves.
Of course,
So-
the fish come from the planet Pescatarian,
No.
and they've been on a mission from galaxy to galaxy.
My feelings exactly, Jan. It works, but yuck.
Yeah.
So
It's the
I
first
hope
time
that-
we've actually had a fair-
Cast Tony Collette, and we're good.
there we
That's
go.
good.
What were you saying, Adam? This is the first time
It's the
what?
first time we've done like a negative like arc where like
An
it doesn't work
anti-hero.
out, where they make the bad choice and they deal with the consequences.
I think it's
Yeah.
an important thing I think to sometimes do, because I feel like our natural instinct with a structural beat sheet like this is to go for the ending that resolves mostly positively. And I think it's kind of important to show that that you can tell stories that have dark endings that are still structurally sound in the way that that Young Screenwriters espouses.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that this was also a really good example of kind of following where the story needs to go. We hadn't built Claire into a character that was going to get better. Like, that was not the character that we created, and that was not the environment that we put her in. And so being open to being like, you know what, what's actually going to explore this theme even more, her getting worse.
Getting eaten by her daughter.
Getting
Yeah.
eaten by Holly.
Child.
It's a grim fairy tale, right? It's a cautionary tale. This is what happens when you don't learn.
Yeah. God. Claire.
Yeah, because I mean the whole thing of flaws is that if they don't overcome their flaw, it destroys them. So if this person doesn't overcome her flaw, she's got to be destroyed in the end.
I like it. So I
Well,
hope
on
that
that
this
note-
was fun and that everybody got to kind of see how building tent poles can work and like how you can come up with a story. And Yeah, and so basically, if you want to try to do this again, this is actually what we're doing in our writer's room. Right now, we're doing a project that we're starting next Tuesday, where basically we've created a list together of a bunch of really interesting objectives, and you choose an objective and you write a feature built out around that objective. So it's exactly what we just did here, but it's your story, and you get to bring in different pages, like different parts as you develop it over the course of several weeks. So yes, Chris, absolutely.
For those who don't know,
Oscar.
the Writers Room
Oscar.
is our Patreon. You can access
Yeah.
in Discord.
Let me. I have a link.
All right.
Who had a link ready? Me. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. We'll see you next week. And thank you, Theo, for joining us last minute.